Welcome to Lunch and Learn. We have an absolutely terrific program today. Lunch and Learn taking us to Tbilisi, Georgia, where we will meet Gulo Swan and her granddaughter, Miriam, I think, correct? Is that the correct?
Yes, correct.
Good. They're going to share their experiences and their feelings about the war in Ukraine, the impact it has had and is continuing to have on their lives and on the lives of the displaced people that are in Tbilisi. The program today will be moderated by Rabbi Gadi, who has spent time with Gula in Tbilisi, so he has been there.
Yes, 3 times.
This is a wonderful opportunity. They're going to talk to us. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions. And we thank you very, very much for doing this, Gula and Mariam. Thank you.
Thank you to inviting us. Thank you very much. We're very happy to be here.
Rabbi.
Okay, so Gula and I go way back, of course, through the congregation. She used to live right behind the synagogue here in Greenport, and she used to come to Rabbi Fenster's classes before I started here. And then I inherited her as a student, and she became a very devoted student because even after they moved back to Georgia, her and Arthur Swan of good memory, moved to Tbilisi, she still kept coming to the classes online. So it was incredible. And so I've been to Tbilisi 3 times now and traveled through Georgia with Gulo and Mariam and Poco. And at that point, Anastasia came later, the daughter.
Yes, that's correct.
And unfortunately, Gulo lost her son, Lasha, and Mariam lost her father 2 years ago. He was my age. So 2 years ago, he was 47 and he passed away, unfortunately. It was such an amazing man. So I really fell in love with the whole family, the whole thing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tbilisi, I brought my family there. So it was, it's a great place. One of in 2019, it was the second time I was in Tbilisi. We traveled to the Armenian border and we were going to cross it. And I remember that I heard a lot of Russian spoken in around me. And I remember we had this conversation, of course, about the Jordan-Russian war, which I hope you'll talk about. So for people who travel through the region, it was not a big surprise that Russia invaded Ukraine because you experienced it, before.
In 2008.
Right. So this is the Russian attempt to expand again is not new to you. So hopefully you can speak about that and then go into maybe describing what you're experiencing now with the refugees also coming through your border. So you want to start, Maria?
Yes, with big pleasure. First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's a big pleasure for me. It will be a great experience, I think. Yes, now we have very trouble time in Georgia as well to see on television what is happening in Ukraine, and it is much painful for us because we tried it several years ago, as Rabbi mentioned, in 2008 when I was 14 years old. I remember in August of 8 when we turned on the television and we found out that the Russian military was very close to our border, and they were starting some military. Yes, no, and we realized that something very, very bad and something very, I don't know how to say, something horror was starting in Georgia. And we were so shocked, we even didn't know what to do. Stay in Tbilisi, because they were very close to Tbilisi, as our border is in 100 kilometer, and it's nothing for them. So we were like checking how many times they will need to get to Tbilisi, and it started very quickly. We even didn't have time, for example, to take our children, for example, my mother and father, they even didn't have any time to, I don't know, to get away from Georgia, even in Turkey or Azerbaijan or Armenia, because they were very close. So we decided to stay in Tbilisi and wait whatever will be. We will face everything from our back with our back, because we didn't have any chance to get away. And this war started and lasted several days. And the main thing, what happened that time, and why, for example, all the people around me, we were studying together at university, or my co-workers, it doesn't matter, all our people, why we are so respectfully with the country America, and why this country is very important for me, because all these people who were in Georgia that time, we saw with our eyes how the American President Bush helped us with this.
He sent several ships to
Black Sea,
yes.
And I think this was the main point why Russia stopped this military, not to take the capital of Georgia, Tbilisi. So we were sitting in Tbilisi, and we even remember the voice, how they were bombing all the around areas, and we were in shock. But this step from your president was, I think, the main which helped us to survive, because we even didn't know if we survived. And our ex-president also was trying to build this relationship between America and Georgia, and for sure Russia was not happy with that. So for now, what's happening in Ukraine, for sure it's different, because our war lasted several days, as I remember 5 or 6 days, but they still are going to, they are continuing occupations, but without war. They know that we don't have any strength to start this war and to protect our sites and our territory, and they are continuing occupation, because, for example, 5 years ago, we said 20% of Georgia is occupied by Russia, but after 5 years, we say more than 20% is occupied by Russia, and they're continuing all this day by day. So every day we are losing our territories, and now we are not ready to protect ourselves. And for sure, we now understand what's happening in Ukraine, but it's for sure that it's different, because more than 100 days there is all this
the war is
going on. So I understand what's going on there, and there are many friends from my people around me, the very young men, my friends, boys, who left Georgia and to fight for Ukraine, because they know that this war is not only for Ukraine and Russia, it's our war as well. So that's why for Georgian people, it's, are now very painful to watch all this on television.
And
So,
we are very scared because we are not safe and nobody is. And 2008, our former president told to the world, if you are not going to help Georgia to get rid of Russia, the next step Russia is going to do this will Ukraine. It will be Ukraine. And that happened exactly like he said.
yeah.
Because he's, I don't know, I think he's crazy. He's a sick man.
So I
But
want to
who?
ask you a question about the regions, because the Russians claim Abkhazia, right?
Yes.
And
They-
South
they-
Ossetia.
Yes, this
And-
was in,
No, not South,
I don't remember
Just like-
Ossetia. I don't remember exactly when it was more than 20 years ago, they took it Abkhazia. But
And-
on 2008, this is region on the Black Sea.
So the
It's
question is they're clearly disputing this region, just like they're disputing Crimea.
Yes,
Ukraine.
exactly.
So the
But
question
we-
is, what reasons do they give, and what reasons do they give?
Do they need any reason?
George? Well, at least for the record.
No, they telling they are defending Russians in Georgia. And now I tell you the better. Today I saw on the CNN, there are more than 100,000 Russians who flew from Russia to survive because they are against this politics and against this war. And they are living in Georgia. There are so many Russians, and prices, my God, are very high. And we are a very hospitable nation. Despite they did so many bad for us, we are not asking this from the ordinary people. They living
It's a
here
politic and
yes,
governmental decision.
yes, and they are living in peace here. And today, exactly, I saw on a CNN how the correspondents and journalists were taking interviews from Russians who live in Georgia. And
How
not
do
many
they cross the
Ukrainians.
border? How do they cross the border? The refugees, are they coming from one direction?
Oh,
or-
no, they
You mean the Ukraine?
no,
Ukraine?
Russians can fly to Georgia without
Refugee
any.
Ukrainer.
Russians can fly to Georgia without any visa. They have free coming to Georgia. We cannot go to Russia without invitation or visa.
You,
But
you
they
can
can.
go, you
No, we
have to
can't.
present a
No, we
passport,
can't.
can.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
but they don't
Exactly.
have to present a passport.
No,
can
they
just go
don't.
through.
And the other day I met on the street, he was asking about something, the Russian young man. And I asked him how he could come to Georgia. And he told me he was 2 weeks hold he was from Petersburg, hold in an airport by KGB or whatever the name today, this Russian forces. 2 weeks, they hold him with 2 children and wife. And only after that, they let him flew to Georgia. Not many Ukrainians in Georgia. There are people from Ukraine, not so much.
Because they went to Poland.
Yes, because they are close to Poland border, and for them easier to go that way than come to Georgia.
Yeah,
But Russians who are against Putin's politics,
right.
there are very many Russians.
And people don't understand that actually Russians, because I happened to be in Helsinki on February 24th when the war started, and I remember that a lot of Russians crossed the border into Finland, because they have
Oh
a
yes,
very long border. I think it's
and Finland is scared too.
8,000 miles or something. So they
Finland is very scared.
right. So it's not just
Yes.
the Ukrainian
And
refugees,
Estonia
it's
and
Russians
Latvia
are
and
against
Litva, they're all we are very scared because nobody knows what is going to do,
And who will be the next.
Yes, and who will be next. And this is a very, very big military machine, you know that.
Wow.
Russians. They were getting for any war ready from World War II.
Three.
You know?
Can you say that at least maybe the world did not respond to you in 2008, or at least not enough, and at least the
wasn't
world
enough.
is correcting itself now and responding
Oh yes, and
in
will
fair
be
measure?
more, and gets worse if world do not take any serious steps, because I don't know what's happening. 103rd day war is going on, and so many people are dying. He behaves like a Hitler, exactly. And when they are going to do something against this, nothing good come of it. I think it's my opinion, personal opinion.
Yeah.
We have, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't have any hopes for Ukraine.
So what are you doing?
And
What are you doing right now to, I don't know, either protect yourself or anticipate something or receive or help refugees? What do you do in your
we
capacity?
helping refugees. We collected and food and clothes for the children to help Ukraine, and send many planes full of what can we do, how you can help, because we're only 3.5 million people. It is not a very big country. We're almost 3.5 million, and its economy is not very good in Georgia because of these pandemics and the political situation. And this Russia is so horrible neighbor for us. It's just terrible. Where we have a border between Georgia and Russia, every couple of months, they put this border on our territory, 5-10 meters. They almost come to Tbilisi. We can't do anything. There we are journalists from over the Europe, and they were talking to them. They are not hearing anything, and they are doing the same. If we can't do anything, what we are going to do? Ukraine is 40 million people.
And we are 3.5.
We are 3.5. We did not do anything when 2008 marched to Georgia. We can't do anything. He came near to Tbilisi, about 50 kilometers.
Yeah. Why do you think the world didn't react harshly
Because
then?
as I see, what they're doing, all this, no give airspace or do not pay Russian gas, it does not work. It does not. I don't know. Don't you think? Do you think it works? I don't think so. Today he was promising to do more missile attacks on Ukraine. I listened to Russian television.
On Kiev.
He's not going to back up. He's not going. If something do not happen, and I don't know what world is going to do, especially Europe.
Yeah. I wonder if people have questions. I think we can maybe open it up and hear more. If people have questions to Gulo and Mariam.
I can answer if I can.
Yeah, Francis. You're muted.
You have to unmute.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you very much. Good evening in Georgia.
Good evening.
Yeah, the situation is very sad. It's very sad, and the international community, and I speak on behalf of my former organization, the United Nations, we are totally paralyzed. We are totally paralyzed by those great power. You mentioned Russia invading and taking Crimea. We didn't do anything. The United Nations didn't do much when the United States of America invaded and destroyed Iraq and killed 275,000 people, and the lies and so forth. So, we have to change all this. We have to change all this. and all the religious organizations, be it Jewish, Muslim, Christians, we should do, and people who are not religious, we should really work very hard to change the system. It is totally unacceptable that a nation invades another one, be Georgia, be Ukraine, and so forth. And we didn't do anything in 2014 when Russia took Crimea,
True.
and we didn't do much when they took part of your country and so forth. So I know it's easily said than done. It's a very, very sad situation. And let me just finish on a very positive note. I have great, great admiration for your president, Salome Zorashvili, not because she's also French and she has French citizenship and she was raised in Paris, but I heard her many times, and she's a wonderful spokesperson for democracy, for human rights, and for respect of peace. So I am in great favor of your wonderful president. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what do you think is the way to go? And then we have Miriam here. Has a question. But where do you think we have to go from here? Is that the solution is really in the coalition of countries and states around? That's the only way to go, right? I mean, when I look at other cases in the world, the only way to push a power like this is with coalition of many other states. So the fact that you're helping Ukraine now is one of the ways to do it.
We can't get to NATO somehow, and we are absolutely open to Russians and all the other world. All former Soviet Union is frightened, and including Poland and Finland.
Right.
Don't you think something has to be done about it?
And do you think if Georgia would have become a NATO ally or well, it's definitely an ally. If it's
well,
a member,
if war starts, I think this starts, and if we will be the part of NATO, this means that we are not alone in front of this shark. Big shark.
This is a bear.
Yeah, or bear, or I don't know how to call.
Yeah.
But anyway, if war starts today, and we are not a part of NATO, this means that they will need 3 days to.
I don't think they need 3 days.
I think one day will be enough for us. But if we will be a part of NATO and the war will start, NATO, whole Europe will be with us. And at this case, we will have some chances, but this will be the third world war. This means.
Because he's not going to stop.
Because he is not going to stop, and he took the moment because Ukraine also wanted to get to the part of NATO, but unfortunately they could not succeed. And for now, Russia took the moment to attack this country before they will get the chance to become a part of NATO.
We think this way. What can I say?
But we really don't know what kind of plans they have in front of. But I'm pretty sure that if whole Europe will be together, and also America, I think they will also will have their position. I think Russia
he has to
don't have enough strength to win this war. But I don't know what about their talking, or what about their thinking.
He's doing what he wants.
He wants to recover the Soviet Union.
Yes.
And I don't think
he wants to go back to Soviet Union. It can't happen. It's impossible. I can't become 20 years old now.
Yeah, I think we
Miriam, and then Alan.
And then Anne. Are we unmuted? Yeah. How would you describe the coverage of the war in Ukraine by the Georgian press? the papers, are they very critical of what Russia is doing? Is there any wavering in their coverage of the war?
Yes, sure.
No.
All our
The
channels.
people are very, very upset with government because, only people support Ukrainian people, but government is frightened because we're a small country. We depend on them, on
But-
products, on everything. And government does not want to make them angry, whatever.
But
to
the
spoil
press
them.
reacts, I think,
But press reacts
accordingly.
Yes, and they criticizing, and our president is criticizing them, and all the people support. Wherever you go in Georgia, every bar, every restaurant, they have flags of Ukraine. They are supporting them, and people are even Russians, because we know we're running for their country because they do not like their politics, and we understand them.
Yeah. Alan, you had a question?
Yeah, what I wanted to say is the challenge for Georgia is now, because they're not a NATO member, it's going to be very difficult during the war to admit anyone to NATO. For example, Finland
We know
declared they
that.
wanted to be a NATO member, and Turkey is blocking them. If any one member says no, they can't get in. So
We know
right
that.
now, Putin's strategy is going to probably be to try, if he keeps going, he's a crazy guy. If he keeps going, he's going to try and pick off the non-NATO members first, because
Well,
if
yes,
he starts with, if
exactly,
he
he's
starts with a
doing
NATO
that.
member, then all of NATO is bound to defend. And that's probably why it's going to be difficult for the few countries standing alone in his path that are not NATO members, and it's very sad.
This is exactly what I was saying. He is now in Ukraine because he does not want to allow not Ukraine, not Georgia to get to NATO. That's all what he wants. He
Yeah.
wants his strength back. He's very upset
Mhm.
because Soviet Union does not exist.
Are you afraid personally? Are you in fear?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
Gulo, no.
not.
But
You're not afraid of anything.
No, I'm not.
ask me this question: why I'm running to America?
No, yes. And she came months ago and said, Grandma, I don't know, but if anything happens, we are going to run to Turkey. I said, I'm not going anywhere.
Well,
I
maybe
will
the Green
stay in my
Party.
country, but maybe young people have to run, but not me.
Not you. Yeah, and
There are
I'm wondering about some of the other countries that were Soviet Socialist republics, like
Yes.
Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan. Where do they stand? They're much larger than
Yes.
Georgia and even than Ukraine. Where do they stand in relation to
But
this?
the Russia has influence on these countries, not in Georgia,
Israel.
not in Ukraine. In Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan, they are absolutely under Russian protection. Maybe they do not like his politics, but they're smart enough to not say anything.
and we're
But
choosing
Georgians, we do not want Russians. Not
However,
people, but their politics, and Ukraine is against it. Why we are in this situation?
are some of
Azerbaijan
those
is
other
very good
countries?
terms with Russia. Armenia is perfectly good terms with Russia, but we know we are not.
because we concern ourselves and we choose Europe and
And we
not the
choose
Soviet
freedom,
Union, and
and
we
not Russia
choose
and freedom.
freedom.
Yes, but they, I don't know, they like Russian politics.
And
know.
when this war started, thousands people were gathered in Tbilisi in front of parliament in order to protect them and to express our impression and our position that we are together. This is our war, and this is not only the Ukraine's war. This is our war, and we are protecting them. and we are ready to help them. And all people who had willing and who had the potential to come in Georgia, we were searching all these refugees in order to help them, to give them the shelter, to give them the food. We were collecting the humanitarian aid.
Yes.
Yes, in front of Parliament. And for example, all people of my age, we all are on the same position. For sure, there are many old people who remembers the Soviet Union and they want to recover also, but this part is not important in Georgia because all young people, all who want the normal life and the main thing, the freedom. I don't know what you can compare with this word. There is nothing, because the freedom is the main for me, because I have 4 years old child, 4 years old daughter, and I want her to live in a freedom country, free country, to choose what she wants to do, the profession, the religion, it does not matter. She is a free human person, and I want to live, and I want to give her the place where will be this freedom. And if I see that, and now I see that there is the danger, I know that it's not, I'm not proud with my decision that I want to leave my country, because I was born in this country and this is my homeland. But for me, I'm not proud with my decision, but I made this decision to leave this country and to take my child and change the country where I will continue my life.
So let me ask something. So you really think that as your generation, of course, you're already a generation that was born, when were you born?
I was born in 1993.
93. Wow. So
1993.
you're right after the
Yes,
dissolution
exactly.
of the Soviet Union. So you were born just like for me. I was born in Israel in a Jewish state. I don't know anything, even though thousands of years before me, Jews lived in diaspora. But I feel like you too. You are a child of freedom. You were born
Yes,
into
exactly.
that, and you cannot go back. You know, we
Yes.
always say, the Torah tells us, you cannot go back to Egypt. You know,
No,
once
he
you
doesn't want it.
tasted freedom. So that, and so do you see that as the war of, you know, all or nothing, basically? It's about
Yes.
freedom. It's about the world that has not wrapped its mind around the idea of freedom.
I
And
see
the
this
world
time
that
them to
has already
think
lived
about.
freedom and does not want to go back.
Yes.
Yeah, and people
Exactly.
die for this throughout history. People die for freedom. That's the
Yes, exactly. And
yeah.
Ukrainians dying for freedom.
Die for freedom.
You know,
That's
I
what
support them, and many Georgian young men left for Ukraine, and they
my
died
friends.
there. But there was a time 2 months ago, I think, when the plane was ready and young people were there in a plane, but government didn't allow them to fly.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
and they somehow managed to go different way. This is not good, and we are not happy with our government either,
Yeah.
because they can do more to support Ukrainian people
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
this freedom. But
Yeah.
you know, they are telling us they're thinking about us.
Yeah.
To
Francis,
protect
you
us.
wanted to, Francis?
Yeah, allow me again to be somehow pessimistic. You mentioned NATO, you mentioned the help of America. We live in a very selfish world. We live in a very privileged world. We live in Greenport. Do you think people in Greenport want to die for Georgia, for Ukraine? No. And the same, excuse me, let me finish. And the same in Europe. We had the same in before World War II, when people say, why would we die for Danzig? Okay, let them do. So we are all fighting for freedom and so forth. Those are words. I think we're getting much worse. We are going to see, because your neighbor, your Russian neighbor, the bear or the ogre, whatever you called him, will use horrible weapons just to survive. And then we might find a better solution. We have not seen the end of it, and NATO will not help, the European will not help, and I'm quite pessimistic.
Okay, but before we,
I want to answer. Do not you think this happening exactly like happened before World War II started?
Yeah.
This scenario is the same for me.
And that's the point. I think that's
But
really
that's
is
the
the
point.
point. That's
This
the point.
scenario is identical, almost identical.
Right.
Yeah, even worse, because we
And
have
even
then
worse,
40 million
because it's 21st
million
century.
people dead, killed in World War II, and then we stopped. We are celebrating today the 6th of June, which
I
is
don't know.
the landing of the Anglo-American in France to liberate France. What I'm trying to say is that we are going to see worse coming, and I say it with great sadness.
Yes, I agree with you.
Okay, so before we become
Totally.
too pessimistic altogether, I'm here to say, okay, there's also a bigger picture here, and I would say it is about freedom, and it's true, Francis, that people from Greenport don't feel necessarily that they have to die for the freedom of Georgia. However, and I think this is what the biggest message that we're receiving today, I think, is about understanding that the freedom in Georgia is the same freedom in Greenport. And it's not Georgia's, right? It was Crimea, and now Georgia. Now, sorry, it was Georgia and then Crimea and then whole Ukraine. So just like Second World War, we were lackadaisic about understanding that there are serious forces that want to really gobble the world. They want to really control the world. So
Rabbi,
I know for us, for us, it's not something that, right, because we grew up in freedom, we don't think that way. Our mind doesn't go there. But people whose culture is to dominate, they will continue to dominate until they are stopped.
He started 25 years ago when he went to Afghanistan to help there. Look what happened. Then he went to Karabakh. He tries these different ways, and world is not telling anything. And now we came to the war. I really don't have any hopes. If something not happened very serious, because he's not going to stop.
So what do you think there's still to do that the world is not doing?
I don't know.
A no-fly zone, a send actual.
Does he care about it? He sent his missiles very nicely, and now he promised today exactly. He said he's going to continue. He's going to continue, and he get to the Kiev. It's very bad situation, and it's becoming worse every day.
So you're willing to take the risk, let's say that if let's say the United States or NATO would say Ukraine is now a no-fly zone, which means that could create a real conflict with Russia and the West. So would you take that risk? You think that it's better than
I'm not a politician. I don't know for sure, but I know one thing. If something not happen and Europe is not going to raise his voice, he's not going to stop. Somebody has to talk to him.
Yeah.
Somehow he has to be persuaded. He can't continue. Now people will forget about Hitler and will be talking about Putin, but he didn't care. Never.
Yeah. It's
and
amazing.
Not now.
It's amazing that in the 27 years that I've been traveling back and forth through Europe, I could see exactly from 95, the beginning of coming out of the Soviet hold, and entrepreneurship and new businesses and that excitement in people's eyes and becoming a free market society. And it's amazing. When I was in Helsinki, I thought, really, we're going back to those days now? This felt
Evidently
like
we-
going back in time.
Yeah, evidently we are, Rabbi, because even though I'm thinking now, I was born after World War II. It's unheard of what he's doing now. There is nothing. He's just telling all the world, I can and I will. And I'm going to do it. I'm not going to let these people free from me. You know, he's beginning to slow. Now, if he takes Ukraine, then will be Belarus, you know, this
Mhm.
next step. Finland is going to NATO too. They didn't
Yeah.
want it, but now they do, because they are frightened too. Because, you know, this territory in the past century was Russians too. And you never know what he's going to think and what he's going to do, because there is no law, no morals for this man.
Yeah. Adrian has
And
a
now
question.
there is no one in the world, no country, no, you know, people who sit together and talk to this crazy man what he wants. Ukraine not going to give up his land. They do not want to be Russian slaves. They do not.
Right. Gulo, I mean,
What are we going to do?
yeah, you're 100% right, Gulo, and you know,
Yeah, what are
all of
we going
Europe
to
and
do?
the United States should join together.
Yeah.
His hook is to say, I have my finger on the nuclear bomb.
Yes.
That's his
Yes.
hook, and everyone, it stops everyone cold. We need somebody to take the man out.
So I would say, I would add to that, to the nuclear button, he also has the gas button.
Well, yes,
And
he
I think
does.
that's really, because he knows if he's going to use any nuclear weapon, it's going to be his own suicide too. I would hope he thinks that.
But he
the
didn't care.
gas,
He has cancer.
but through the
He didn't care.
economy,
He went to history books. I think this was only his, I don't know, dream. Somehow to get to the world to talk about this stupid man and
Do you-
sick person.
do you feel the price, the gas prices and the economy in general changing also in Georgia?
Oh, yes, we do. Oh, yes, very badly. And you know, we are not economically strong country. It's very, I don't know, 100% prices went up on every product, you know, including soap and everything. It's just unbearable.
Wow. Paul, you have to unmute.
Who?
Paul Jesselson.
Hi. Gulo, do you
Yes.
do you feel any relationship with the oligarchs? Do you see them their presence or lack of presence in Russia? Because my personal feeling is that the pressure on the oligarchs to seize their possessions, seize their money, will cause them to turn on Putin. Do you see any indication in everyday life?
Yes, I do. I don't know about oligarchs, but I know the opinions are divided and Russia is divided. You know, there are many people who are against him, but oligarchs are his friends. I don't think they're very happy. And I hope they come to normal decision to do something with this guy. I think he's doing very, nobody loves Russians anymore. Nobody wants to see them, you know, Russian people. He's doing bad to Ukraine and he's doing the same bad and very poor situation for the Russian people. And they're not, no, they're not happy. And I know some oligarchs are not happy with this politics, but what they're going to do? The Russia is the country, it's like jungles. You are going to be vanished and nobody is going to ask the question. How many times he did that? Many times.
Liz.
Now, if somehow somebody would have managed to assassinate him like they tried to assassinate Hitler, would things improve, or would somebody else just step in and continue
I
like
don't
him?
think world has any other option. Because as I see this and as I hear, and I'm neighbor of this Russian, this is only person who wants.
And you don't feel now that if you express this opinion in Georgia, you're somehow endangering yourself?
I don't care.
You don't care at this point.
No, I don't care. I all my life was telling truth and telling my opinion, and I'm not going to be scared now.
So I want to ask you something, because one of our conversations, I remember when I was in Tbilisi, and it was the conversations about the times that the Soviet Union was still in place. And you said, you know, life was simpler. You can say a lot of things about those times, but
you know
things
what?
were simpler, and people, you know, paid attention more to being together, not to chase money, not to be this.
This
I
was
think
exactly
maybe
this
the
way.
war, the what?
It was exactly this way. When was Soviet Union, things were not so horrible like they were telling all over the world. It was not true, you know. But there was no freedom. We know that.
Exactly, and that's the
Yeah,
point.
there
You know,
was
when,
no freedom, but you know, somehow through the history, we know when the kings and emperors make the people live in fear. Even we could not go abroad, you know, without KGB, and you know, you have to have so
Right.
many documentation. But people, you know, I don't know, they were more happier, more kind to each other. You know, because there was not millionaires and billionaires, and I don't know, somehow you feel yourself equal with them. But what happened then after the Soviet Union, this was horrible. And now I'm walking through my street here and I can't see faces. You are smiling, the Georgians are not smiling anymore. And this is killing me.
This is what I loved about Georgia. The people are so
yes, they're
happy.
very hospitable. Yes, now
And-
I'm even asking, you know, Russians, when I see them in the street. 1 year ago, or when you were here, or 6 months ago, there was no Russian talk on the streets. Now I'm telling my, oh my God, we are back to the Soviet Union, because everybody was, everybody is talking in Russian language because there are so many Russians. And I always ask them, you know, how do you feel there? Do any Georgian tells you? Because in general, we do not like Russians because they did not do anything good to us. Everything bad comes from them. And no Georgia wants to be part of the Soviet Union. He does invaded us in 1921. No Georgia wants to be part of Soviet Union, but stop killing. So many people died then, and now so many people dies. Now it's enough. These revolutions, they never make any good for the people. I don't know.
It's interesting because, you know, when the Israelites left Egypt, they were in the desert at a certain point, you know, when things got rough in the desert, they were reminiscing Egypt and saying, oh, when we were on
yes,
the, you know, we ate meat and potatoes, not potatoes. They didn't have potatoes then, but there was cucumbers and all that. Maybe this is a reminder for us that the chaos that maybe comes a little bit after dissolving this kind of big system does not merit reminiscing them. going back to times that maybe seemed on the surface to be quieter and nicer, but as you said, but they were lacking freedom. To what's kind of the point?
But you know what? I don't know. Human being has one life, and he has to live this life at least free and not afraid of this Russian. We were frightened then in Soviet Union. Nobody can say anything about church. Nobody can say anything, out loud, his opinion. Yeah. It was horrible. But these 30 years passed. Nothing good happened in this country. I don't see anything good happen. Now, here's somebody there in Georgia. Some people are walking with guns,
Yeah.
They're getting crazy, I think. And it is very scary. Yeah. It is very scary.
That's why in America,
now, I don't know what to choose. Like Jewish people were telling we were in better position in Egypt. Now we're in the wilderness 40 years. It is the same situation now.
Right.
At least I knew, I saw smiling faces. I knew nobody was frightened to go outside 2 a.m. We never were frightened. Now, I don't know.
Yeah.
Everything is, something is not right. I think
coming from slavery, transitioning from slavery to freedom.
Okay, now we need 40 years. Okay, it's 8 years. We will wait. I'm not going to live, I think, so long, but my grandchildren, at least, maybe we need 40 years like Israel needs to be in a desert. What can I say?
Yeah. So there's an interesting conversation in the Talmud about children, if it's better for a human being to be born at all or not, because once you're born, you have tough life a lot of time, you struggle and you work and you always have to. So is it better to be born or at all or not? So
if you ask me, I don't want to be born. It was God's mistake.
The Talmud's conclusion is that better for a human being to be born. And I think, freedom, going from Egypt to slavery to freedom, it's like being born. And the experience of coming out of Egypt for the Israelites was a birth. They went through, the water of the Jordan River and the Red Sea.
I understand, but look, this generation couldn't get to Israel. They have all to die in this wilderness.
But nobody says, let's go back to becoming part of the Soviet Union. That's what I'm saying. I think it's a good, it's a painful, what's going on right now is so painful. It's like giving birth to a new world, because people are not saying, let's go back to being under the Soviet Union. I think they're giving an answer to the world. We rather fight than being enslaved.
Because it's impossible. You can't go to the past. You can't go to the past. It's impossible. He's crazy enough to not understand this. I don't know how he can imagine this thing. He can go to the past. It's impossible.
Well,
don't you think so?
I'm wondering what possible plagues we have. So this question really is for Francis. What at this point do you think NATO should do?
I'm not a politician and I don't know what NATO should do, but I know something has to be done to stop this man.
Yeah.
I don't know
what do you think?
People all over the world. I am telling about the people who can do this and sit around this round table and to guard to one decision, how to stop this man. Because it will be catastrophe. It will be more horrible than World War II, people. I think this is my opinion.
Yes.
Because Hitler started exactly this way.
Yeah. The many head of states went to see this man in Moscow. Everybody went and everybody bent to him, and this he loved. When you said he's crazy, he's not crazy. He's a very intelligent person. He's a very intelligent person. Yes,
Putin.
yes. He's a very, as a typical dictator, whatever you want to call
yes,
him.
he's
a very,
dictator.
very, very clever, very, very clever man, unfortunately. Now, you said, what can NATO do? NATO cannot do anything. The UN cannot do anything. The European Union will not do anything unless they will be, and I agree with you, they will be more catastrophic. There will be an atomic weaponry use, and then maybe the world will change. But until then, Ukraine will be, the Ukrainian will be killed and so forth.
But
So
you're talking
I
about.
will see. I see very,
no
very.
hope. I see. There is
You're
no hope. And
describing
why
an
I'm going to
Armageddon.
run to Turkey? Please answer the question.
What
Why
is
I'm
it?
going to run to Turkey with my granddaughter? No, I'm going to stay here and die here. Because if nothing good happened, I don't know. It's a big sin to ask God, I want him dead. That's all. Because
He's
I don't see
surrounded
any
by his,
other solution.
to imagine that he's going to get killed, I don't think so either. He's highly, highly, highly protected.
I tell you,
And
he
people have to
lives under the ground, 3 or 5 meters
Yes,
down
yes,
there.
yes,
He lives in a bunker. He protects us. Oh my God.
yes, yes.
Yes, he is protected. He protected with his money. He protected with his surrounding people. And that's, I don't know.
Wow.
And one hope, maybe Russian people can do something to defend themselves.
Yeah.
He's very clever again in bringing the Russian with him. He said,
Oh my God, he
let's
has so
bring
much-
Russia again. Yesterday, the French president, Emmanuel Macron said, let's not humiliate Russia. He said it yesterday, which of course to the horror of the Ukrainian. So he's playing in the hands of Russia and so forth. The Russian the Russian have been humiliated, have not been, so they see this Putin as as a great leader. The same again before World War II, saying Hitler was the savior and we saw what he did.
and this was mistake. And
Huh?
this is mistake too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is mistake too.
Wow.
Because
So-
he has power and because he has money, this means he's can do anything he wants, everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Before we sign off, or at least finish the recording, and people, if you want to stay after that, feel free to speak more with Gulo. But before we stop the recording, I want to say, and give it back to Judy, I would say that what the biggest lesson here for me today was to hear your anxiety. I think that really the biggest message, because everything else, you can hear on the news or you can speak to other people, but to feel you there on the ground, you're in that context, see how anxious you are and unfortunately hopeless. We definitely, I think you moved us significantly. So
I
thank
think-
you very much for sharing your feelings and
Thank
experiences.
you.
Gulo.
Thank you very much. Not only your anxiety, but your determination. It's
Right.
rather inspirational, Gulo. Thank
Right.
you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for doing this, and thank you
Yes.
everybody for your participation.